Oh, no,
No.
it's only the budget hearing.
Tonight is only public hearing on the budget.
It's not even the budget hearing. It's the bond.
Please refer to the bond.
Right. He probably wants to do it.
And he said, do you realize when it's 95 degrees outside, the temperature is 70? Do you imagine what's going on that? In football season,
So I'm going to handle these separately. We open this one separately, and I open the next one separately. Yeah.
There are two.
Yeah, they're two separate. But they're both on yours, right?
Yes, they are. They're ours and ours alone.
All right. I guess we've got sound.
We have sound. Okay. Can you hear me?
Big Joe.
Are we ready, Rich?
I'm just waiting to see if Bruce is going to give me the sign-up sheet.
Yep, you're going to do your introduction.
Well, I got my speech ready for you guys. You know it's always something fun, right?
How many of those bills did you take?
Not enough.
Can we pretend that these are... These are called Kiss with Confidence skills.
Oh, that's good.
I'll have one.
Look at Charlie. Charlie, are you timing people tonight?
Just got it out there. I don't think you're going to have to, but
I don't either.
No nips. That's after.
thank you.
What did you get?
Shrinking tax dollar.
Interesting. Strange.
So, Mike, you're just going to do yours with handouts, right?
I'm just going to mention
Oh.
just a couple of things real quick.
Okay. Jared closes on this. Jared Clinton, put the paste, inclusion. Okay.
By too many people? I had to go pick Robbie up, drop him off at the church.
Okay, are we all set? All right, good evening. I am going to call the Town Council public hearing of Monday, April 11th, 2011 to order. The first hearing this evening are on all funds except for the school fund and the school capital reserve fund. We're taking public comment tonight on the preliminarily adopted budget for fiscal year 2011 and 2012. At 7:30 this evening, we will be doing the school fund and the school capital reserve fund. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42466C, notice of these meetings have been posted on the Secretary of State's website, and all those who are desirous of being heard this evening shall be heard. Please rise for a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening. I think we'll begin with the town manager is going to do a very brief opening summary review of the town budget, and then I will open it up to public comment. I have a sign-up sheet here, and I have maybe half a dozen names on it. I'll call each person up individually, and then if there's anybody that comes in or has come in that didn't get on the sheet, we will just come to the microphone after that. Councilman Brennan is not here this evening. He is under the weather, so I hope he's feeling better. And I suggested he watch us live from the comfort of his own home.
Text us.
And he can text us if he has anything to tell us. Okay. I'd ask the town manager to please give us a brief orientation or presentation on the important points of the budget for this year.
Thank you. A couple of quick items that I'd like everyone to be aware of. First of all, the animal control facility is back in the budget, and so is curbside recycling. That's required some reductions in other areas of the budget, which will be reviewed in detail when the council starts to discuss the final budget appropriation. The most important figure that stands out is the levy. The levy, as proposed in this preliminary budget is 4.02%, which is $2,826,685. Out of that appropriation, we're looking at a little over $2 million to the town side, $713,417 for the schools, and a little over $69,000 for the library. The biggest reason for the levy at 4% is the town is losing $2.2 million in the motor vehicle reimbursement. That program was expunged by the legislature 2 years ago. We spend those dollars the year after receiving them. So out of that $2.2 million, we're proposing $2 million that we're losing. $2 million will go to the town to try to keep things fairly close to where we're at. The general fund budget is growing by about 0.5%, $56,000. There was about $1.5 million, a little over $1.5 million that was reduced in order to get to that number. You have handouts that were in the back of the room for anyone that didn't get them. I'm not going to go through every page on this handout, but this handout is basically the essential material to give you an outline of what this budget contains, what are some of the areas that are decreasing, some of the areas that are increasing. But again, the largest number that you're looking at is the fact that we are losing $2.2 million on the motor vehicle reimbursement, the cap being at 4.02%. This year under state law, the cap is 4.25%, and there is, and basically that's it. Again, to emphasize that the animal control facility and curbside recycling is back in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
This is still preliminary?
Excuse me?
Still preliminary.
Still preliminary. Yes, the budget is still preliminary. The budget will not become final until, Mike, is it May? What is our deadline, May 2nd?
Right now, it's
May
May 4th, and there is a provision in the recent charter change that allows a delay in the adoption of the budget until the council is comfortable that we have all of the information from the state. And my latest view of the latest version of the state budget is when it relates to local revenues as well as school revenues, there are some provisions in some of the proposals that certainly could have an adverse effect on the preliminary budget that you see before you this evening.
All right. The first person on the list is Peter Bancroft. Please come forward to the microphone and just state your name and address, please.
Is there a mic over there?
Good evening. My name is Peter Bancroft. I'm the administrator at Well One Primary Medical and Dental Care, formerly Bayside Family Health Care. We are located at 308 Callahan Road in North Kingstown. And I was coming today to speak in favor of our annual appropriation request and to urge the council to reconsider its current position in the preliminary budget. We had submitted a request for an annual appropriation of $20,000. This is an appropriation that has been level funded for a number of years going back. The money is utilized 100% for the benefit of North Kingstown residents. In this past year, we provided services to more than 1,400 town residents. The appropriation translates into roughly about $12 per resident per year at the facility. What we utilize the money for primarily is for individuals who are in the community working and for whatever reason are unable to afford health insurance or do not have access to it. And what it allows us to do is offer discounts to those individuals who receive medical and dental services at our facility. On average, the cost of providing the service for a medical or dental visit is around $130, and these individuals are able to come to the facility and pay a fee of between $20 and $30 per visit. We provided nearly $100,000 in charity care to the town residents in this past calendar year. That number is up dramatically. Of the new residents, of the new patients that we served in that facility in the latter part of last year, 43% of them were without health insurance. We certainly are sympathetic to the town's dilemma. We face similar challenges. There's a couple of things I did want to point out to the council. As a property holder in the community, we do pay property taxes to the town. Last year, we were assessed, I believe, $5,500. The town of North Kingstown is the only town where we have a location where we pay a full share of property taxes. In Burrillville, where we're also located, we get a 100% abatement. In the town of Foster, we receive a 50% abatement. Also in the town of Burrillville, we receive an appropriation in addition to the abatement. Other towns that we receive appropriations from have certainly been reduced over the past couple of years, and we certainly recognize the challenges that the towns are facing. But this is the first town that has proposed an outright elimination of the funding. So we certainly are willing to share the pain, so to speak, and we're certainly sympathetic, but we would ask for any reconsideration that you could make on the preliminary proposal, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Joe Thompson.
Good evening. Joe Thompson, 185 Brookhaven Road. Each taxpayer in North Kingstown has 4 pockets in his pants, and there is a tax collector's hand reaching into each pocket. Number 1 pocket is local, property tax. Number 2 is state, sales tax, income tax. Whenever I hear a council or committee person saying, oh, we should do this project because we only have to pay 40%, and the state pays 60%. I think, wait a minute, that's not the state, that's me, that's pocket number 2. Number 3 is federal income tax, that's where I keep my wallet. If I hear, oh, we get money from the feds for bringing this program in, I think of pocket number 3, that's me. It doesn't come out of the clouds like manna, it's still coming from my pocket. Now, don't misunderstand me. On pockets number 2 and 3, as long as this is the game we're playing, reaching up for our own money available from the state and the feds, I want to get as much as I can for North Kingstown. I'm in that rat race to the top, and I want all the cheese that I can bring home. But understand this also, come election day, I want to elect fiscal conservatives who will honestly work to reduce the reach of the government and the tax and spend mentality that has burdened us for so long. Next, we get to pocket 4. This is the fun one, where we pay for all the other fundraising projects, booster clubs, 5K races, yard sales, pizza dinners, 50-50 raffles, award dinners, yearbook pictures, admission fees to college sports, to school sports, concerts, and theater, etc. These are not exactly taxes, since we are not forced to give except through social pressure. I estimate that there are an extra $250,000 for the schools taken from pocket 4 of the town residents every year. This money is not listed in the budget. It is unaudited, uncounted, and unsupervised. It's also growing exponentially. All 4 pockets are under attack. We have arrived at the point in our town history where young families can no longer afford to live in North Kingstown. A very close friend of mine lives and pays taxes in North Carolina with her husband and 2 children. She bought a house that I could only dream of owning if it were in North Kingstown. They get better town services than I do, including sewers, trash pickup, and well-maintained roads. All this for an annual property tax of $1,200. I asked her, out of all of her friends, and she had loads of friends, at North Kingstown High School, class of 1998, who went to 4-year colleges, the best and the brightest, how many are living in NK today? Her answer, none. They can't afford it. When our kids were growing up, my wife and I never imagined that we would only keep up with our grandchildren on Facebook and not have them living right around the corner. That makes me sad every day. Each year, the homeowners' taxes, back to pocket one, go up. Each year, we go through this kabuki dance with the cost center managers. They come in asking for this much more money for the next fiscal year, and then we cut them and cut them and cut them and cut them, and then we give them this much. That way, they can tell people how they are holding the line on budget and tax increases, and each year the tax goes up again. The current tax year we're in now, about 2/3 of the way through, is called Fiscal 11. The property tax for Fiscal 11 was levied on all the homeowners in town at the rate of $16.85 for every $1,000 their house is worth. The people of this town are crying out for a reduction in taxes of 2%. They need your help. Looking toward Fiscal 12, a 2% reduction of homeowners' tax would make their tax bill $16.50 per thousand. $16.50 for Fiscal 12. That's the minus 2% solution. Then, what are your priorities in splitting up this bag of money? You first have to pay the bond debt, whatever that is. So that comes off the top. This is the point where you could reflect for a moment how much more you could deliver to the citizens in town services if the bond debt service were a little bit lower than it is. Then you have to divide the money remaining into 3 budgets. You have a tough job to work out an equitable split among the library, the town, and the schools. When I'm contacted by citizens who tell me what they think, I promise to deliver a good quality education at a lower cost. I promise you that I will work with this superintendent and this committee to seek out ways to save money and increase revenues on the school side. I am motivated to save money. It's my pocket, number one, that they're spending. But I can't motivate them if you give them more. You've got to motivate them to save money by, when you give them a bigger budget each year, you just enable their high spending ways, and they will spend it. At the last school committee meeting, there was an item on the consent agenda to give the top 7 highest paid administrators 2-year contracts with a blank check for raises in the second year. On the consent agenda, the minute that a school committee member moved to take every item off the consent agenda, they immediately withdrew those 7 contracts from the agenda. We could have saved $180,000 right there, and they took it out of our hands. You have to stop enabling them and start motivating them. Squeeze the money bag for once in order to get them to see that the years of bloated budgets are over. Only that will get their attention and make them in a mood to cooperate with us to save money. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against spending. I'd like to put smart boards in every science and math classroom in town and do it right now. Just last Saturday, Whitford Middle School won the state championship in the Science Olympiad, so they will represent the whole state of Rhode Island at the national competition in May. I'd like to help pay for their trip. The football team needs a new artificial turf in the stadium. It would cost money, but then it would save money. If the students agree to make the turf the color of Vegas gold to match their uniforms, I would be motivated to work diligently to find money for that. So I hope you hear from enough citizens tonight to get the courage to stand against raising taxes once again. Raising taxes is easy. Lowering them is the hard part. Please give us a tax levy of $16.50 and let your accountants figure out how much of a budget that you have to work with. That's the way we do it at home. From that money, carve out spending targets for the library, the schools, and the town, and we will take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Okay. Next is Roger, and I apologize if I don't pronounce it, Korzanowski. Thank you.
I didn't know that this was Steve, but that's okay.
Okay.
First of all, I'm a member of the Friends of the North Kingstown Animal Shelter, and I really want to say thank you very much from my heart. I've talked to many folks in town, and I just feel that they're so comfortable having a local shelter. They have a place to, if they have an elderly person and they can't take care of their dog anymore, they bring it to the shelter. Another good example is last year we had over 200 cats and dogs. The Friends paid for their spade and neuter, any medical attention they need, which was probably over $21,000. And they were all adopted, which is a good number for 1 year. We also invested money on putting all new flooring in the shelter, which came to about $11,500 because it's a special pour, so the animals don't get any paint or cement. I really want to say thank you, and I think we work together well with the shelter, and I do hope this year is very good for us, and hopefully we're not in the same position next year. I thank you again very much.
Thank you. And I happen to have one of those dogs that I adopted and brought home last April, and he's beautiful. And his name is Arthur. Okay, next is Carrie Borden.
It's actually really Gary.
Gary,
I'm having
sorry.
to say that all my life. Gary Borden, I'm Director of Public Relations for the Domestic Violence Resource Center of South County. And thank you for hearing me tonight, because I'm not sure I can make any future budget meetings here. But we did service over 6,600 people last year. We have 11 different programs ranging from court services for victims of domestic violence crimes, counseling, support groups, helplines, our Safe Home, of course. And we're very active in the schools. We offered over 1,000 services to North Kingstown residents last year. We're the only agency in South County that specifically addresses domestic violence. We also reached over 1,000 students and teachers in North Kingstown talking about age-appropriate topics, from bullying to dating violence and cyberstalking and cyber violence. So we're trying to prevent crimes from happening in the first place. We asked for $4,000 because 16% of our clients come from North Kingstown, and of course $4,000 isn't near 16% of our budget, but we thought that was a reasonable request, and I thank you for my time.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is Deborah Hayes.
Good evening. First of all, thank you very much for the animal shelter, and also tentatively for taking the recycling off of the elimination. That's very important to all of us, so good job with that effort. I am, like Peter, concerned about the proposal to raise property taxes. We all are. I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to do this. But I wonder what is being done by the town of North Kingstown actively and with professional assistance to develop more businesses in our community. Just driving along Post Road, going over to Quonset, even through our dear little Wickford Village, what I see is less. What I see is closures and businesses that come and go because they don't make it. I keep hearing that the rent and the restrictions on business growth in North Kingstown are pretty stringent. And I would just like to know what city planning is being done to grow businesses which pay revenues without putting burdens on our schools, and hopefully that would help tremendously in eliminating the need for 2 years in a row of property tax going up. I live at 96 Cardinal Drive in North Kingstown, which happens to be a townhouse, and my property value assessment went down $30,000 last year, but my real estate taxes went up. And if that happens again this year, if I ever wanted to sell, good luck. In fact, we have, difficulty as it is selling the units because of this disparity with the reduction and reduction and reduction in values, part of which is the economy, but not necessarily all. And then on the flip side of that is this increase in property taxes. So, again, I would just ask about development of commercial businesses to help with this burden.
If I may, there's been a lot that's been done over the last 4 years. You have the Post Road Corridor Plan. Right now, there's over 600 housing units and about, I believe John Reiner said, over 200,000 square feet of commercial enterprises that are under review right now. One of the things you find, and Post Road hasn't changed much since I was working in East Greenwich in the early 80s, is that there are a lot of businesses that go in with certain ideas and they don't fit the niche or the market. But there is a lot of activity that's going on right now. And we work very closely with the Chamber, talking to people who are interested in coming in town. One of the misconceptions that everyone has is that if we bring in more commercial activity, it will lower the tax rate for people. With the state law that caps the increase in the tax levy, I'll give you an example. This year, the levy cap is 4.25%. That allows us to raise $2.8 million if it went to the cap. If you brought in $10 million, I'll use a number of $10 million of new business enterprises in town, we still could only raise $2.8 million. Now, you are correct, if it's commercial, it certainly doesn't put a burden on the schools. There are other services that we do provide, but we're always looking, and we're always working very closely with QDC to bring new businesses in, because either through rents or through taxes, those businesses also assist us in dollars to the town.
The list of payments in lieu of taxes doesn't appear to have grown, and I don't see new names on the list. So that was part of the reason for my question.
That's correct. And over at QDC, you have businesses that have come in and out, and there are 4 different types of ownership at QDC with rentals, tax payments. We receive payment in lieu of taxes based on a percentage and based on the lease values. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest disappointments was, you notice the Unetics building is empty. And a Midwest company bought the firm and moved everything out to the Midwest. So there's a lease ownership there. So there's a little bit of a reduction with Unetics, and we certainly hope that QDC can recruit somebody to go in that building.
Thank you. I appreciate the detailed response. But again, anything that can be done to avoid this tax increase, just to help us not only today, but for anyone who's thinking of moving into town, looking at the cost of real estate, which is still reasonable for medium home price, until you factor in the real estate taxes. Same thing for a seller. If you're trying to get out, somebody looks at that and says, oh my gosh. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Steve Hugazian. Pass. John Boyce Garden. He's the last one on the list. Is there anyone else here that did not? Oh, one more? One more list?
On another list.
I'm sorry, Bruce? Richard August. Thank you.
I guess I've always been on the B list, but I don't envy your job, members of the council. Everybody wants their taxes lowered, and everybody wants their service levels to remain the same. And I just hope that people do recognize that of the $2.8 million increase in the tax levy, that a little over $2 million of that is designated for the town government as opposed to the schools and the library and so forth. And I really hope that the council has satisfied itself after interviewing and discussing with all the department heads that this is the absolute minimum amount that they need to run their departments this year, because people are feeling the pain. And I made a statement last year that I'd like to repeat. There are 21 houses on the street that I live on. All of the property taxes that are collected on those 21 houses are not enough to pay for one firefighter's compensation package. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's the end of those that have signed up. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak that did not put their name on the list? Ooh. We've got... Okay, we've got two people that just came through. We've exhausted our list of people who wanted to speak publicly. You're just in time. If you'd like to, come on right up. Just state your name and address, please.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Tina McKendall, 103 Richard Smith Drive, North Kingstown. And my husband and I have been residents here for over 28 years. Excuse me. I did a run from the parking lot. Dear members of the Town Council, our town, our state, our country, and even our world have come upon very challenging economic times. But challenging times can also be times of great creativity. It is my understanding that the town budget proposal increases taxes by at least 14%, depending on the interpretation. As a citizen, I find that completely unacceptable. Now is the time to be tightening our budget. Now is the time to become more efficient, more creative, and thus spend less. I am calling upon our elected officials and our appointed officials to rise to the occasion. North Kingstown can and should be the most fiscally responsible town in our state. For some reason, the town has adopted the premise that if you spend more money, you get a better quality product or improved services. This is very clearly not the case, and we can look at that throughout history. We need to focus on value and not price. There isn't a department that cannot be run more efficiently or a product of any type throughout the world or the country that cannot be improved on. We must provide better service at the lowest possible cost. By doing this, we will attract the best and the brightest to our town and to our state. We will become a town which could attract new business and more qualified citizens. I contend that the town of North Kingstown does not have a revenue problem. We have a serious spending problem. We need to take on a business model that focuses on the town cutting taxes by at least 3%, and then live within that revenue that it generates. In the long run, it will bring a wider base of taxable income to the town, and it will be a desirable place for business to come to and for people to live. I am confident that we have the ability to achieve this goal. We only need to rise to the occasion and become our best selves and do just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Don McKendall. I am at Richard Smith Drive in North Kingstown. My family's been in North Kingstown, I guess, probably since the turn of the century, give or take a few decades here and there. And I've lived in here in North Kingstown my whole life. I've been more politically active in the past year or so because I'm very concerned about the future of the country, let alone the town. And I think that the town needs to look for incentives for people to come to the town. As an example, if I was from another state and I was looking at Quonset, Post Road, or wherever to locate my business, one of the things I'd be looking at is the cost of living. And when you compare the cost of living to other areas that might be better suited for a business model of my business, I might locate somewhere else and not here. And it hurts my feelings when I get out on Post Road and I see all the for sale signs, all the for lease signs. It's a very bad commentary on what's going on in Rhode Island, let alone North Kingstown. So I thought of an idea. Why can't North Kingstown incentivize people to move here, to live here, to raise their families, bring their businesses, and create, as the buzzword of the new millennium, is jobs? Back when Quonset was a Navy base, there was so much traffic on Post Road you couldn't even get out. Now, whether that's good or bad is a different story. My point is, once the Navy pulled out, I've never really seen as much activity since then in North Kingstown. And some may be anti-development. I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on that. However, we are a town, and it's a nice town geographically. It would be nice to have an incentive for people to come here. And one other quick thing, if a person was going to locate his business in Quonset, and I've talked to CB Richard Ellis over there a few times about this, would the CEO or chairman of a big business go to Quonset? Would he want to live in North Kingstown? He would look at the cost of living here, both in terms of his property taxes and all the other taxes that we pay. And if we could get somebody like that to go to Quonset that wants to be there and will go through all the processes to locate there and locate his home and his family in the town, that would bring value to the town in a revenue standpoint, as well as bringing his children to the schools here and actually have a nice community for him to live in. I think that would be good. So I would ask the town council and anyone who's listening to me, let's look at incentives, why people would want to move to North Kingstown. Let's focus on that as a community and welcome people here with open arms and try to create a positive environment from a cost standpoint so that people will want to come here, take some of those buildings on Post Road that are vacant, fill them with businesses and jobs and families in the community, and I think it would be better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else in the audience this evening that would like to speak that did not sign up on the sign-up sheet? If not, then I will complete this public hearing at this point, and then we were going to, and I thank all of you who did speak, and we will take all of your comments seriously, and we thank you for taking the time and effort. We will adjourn until 7:30, at which point we hold the public hearing on the school portion of the budget, the school fund and the school capital reserve fund. So I need a motion to adjourn until 7:30.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're in adjournment.
Well, we will be, yes.
You don't see
we're
the
on.
light until...
Okay, thank you. You got me over in the corner. And yet he says, get up, get his back up tight.
Do you want it? We have
You mean me?
Mr. Mudge's in Florida.
He's back in the corner.
Yep.
This is going to... Okay. Can you hear me? Do we have the sign-up sheet? Okay. Good evening. I will call the public hearing this evening on, excuse me, and the school fund and school capital reserve fund to order pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42466C. Notice of these meetings have been posted on the Secretary of State's website. This evening, all of you that are here will be heard, and tonight is our opportunity to listen to your comments on the budget that has been proposed that is still preliminary. Yes, please, right now, please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a sign-up sheet here, and I only have 3 names on it. If there's anybody in the audience that did not put their name on it after the 3 people that did sign up, I'll see if there's anyone else that wants to come up. I want to welcome members of the school committee here with us this evening for the public hearing. And I will say I would like to allow Dr. Thornton to give a brief presentation to start off with, and then we'll open it up to public comment. Dr. Thornton?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us. The council has at their places a handout which, Mrs. Benson, I'm sorry?
I don't think the audience can see you. It's dark on that side. I don't know why they put the table in the dark, but you have such a wonderful report till I want them to be able to...
I will try to turn this way towards the audience. The council has at their places a document that went out on the NK listserv last week. It's called Apples to Apples. Just a few comparisons, if I could, on that. Last time I was here in front of the council, we talked about something coming out soon called the Uniform Chart of Accounts, or UCOA, and that has come out. It's a comparison of apples to apples of school districts from math books down to pencils. It's all online for you. It's really interesting to kind of compare and dissect school districts. I gave you just one snapshot, and on the front page, I did show you a comparison. North Kingstown, all in, comparing per pupil expenditure, we spend $13,983 per student. The average suburban district spends $16,415, and the state average is $16,984. So I think that lower number is, certainly good to see, and we're still looking to keep that number down. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the past 2 years of hard work by the school committee, trying to control costs, having contracts that have higher co-pays, et cetera. Also, in this conversation on your handout, I talk about NECAP scores, which I know last meeting, I think Councilman Brennan had questions on. The scores are trending up, and that's good news. So if you want just one soundbite to leave tonight, I would say overall we're trending below state average with costs, but trending in the upper third of Rhode Island with assessment scores. So I think both things are trending in the right direction, and that's good news. With that, I will end and open up to the council.
Okay. Thank you very much. The first person on our list to speak this evening is Richard August.
Thank you. I guess I made the A list on this presentation.
You did.
I spoke earlier to the council, and I was on the B list, so it's a little inside joke, and thank you for that. I just wanted to say that I think, again, the school department the school committee has an equally tough job as the council does, and that it's really incumbent upon both bodies to carefully review all of the budget areas. The comment I made to the council earlier is one that I'll modify to the school committee, and in recognition of what you're dealing with, I'd like you to acknowledge or realize that there are 21 houses on the street that I live on. All of the taxes collected on those 21 houses aren't enough to pay one top step teacher's salaries. Not the benefits, just the salary. We have 4 children on the street because we're now an older neighborhood. There are 4 children in the school system, and using a rough figure of $13,000, there's on average to educate a student in North Kingstown, there's $42,000 in addition to the cost of a teacher that would have to be factored in. So you look at the broad number of a $60 million budget, whatever, you have to kind of step back and think about what it means to the individual taxpayer. And earlier in the town council session of this meeting, many people got up and talked about the impact of taxes on our citizens. I certainly hope that you are aware of that and that you carefully review all areas of the budget, and you have carefully reviewed them. One of the areas that I think really needs to be examined more closely, and I know it's a sensitive area, but in my 4+ years on the town audit committee, every year the school cafeteria or lunch program runs a deficit. And I was speaking to the partner in charge of the town audit, and their firm also does the audit in the city of Cranston. Cranston outsourced their food service, and that company returned $200,000 to the school department for the first year of operating their lunch program. So when on one hand, we look at it and say, well, North Kingstown has a great program. It costs us $125,000 or a deficit that has to be made up. In Cranston, which is certainly facing its own problems, they outsourced food service, and that vendor returned a profit of $200,000. So there are areas that I think have to be looked at going forward that may be sensitive, but I certainly hope you'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. John Hensler. No? Oh, you're here, huh? Well, thank you for being here. Okay. Mike McGovern.
Hello. I'm not quite as eloquent as with the last individual.
Could you just state your name and address, please?
Okay. Michael McGovern, 242 Glen Hill Drive,
Thank you.
Saunderstown. I want to thank everybody for all their efforts and work on this. I enjoyed reading it. My point, and I'll be very brief, is I did a little bit of research and statistics, and I don't know what the numbers come from, but according to the national statistics, we are number 6 in cost in the United States for the amount we pay our teachers out of 50. And on the NECAP, we're average. So I'm paying a premium for average education. Now, I enjoy that. I really enjoy it. I know teachers work hard. My brothers and sisters are both teachers. But my point is, and I think I had a conversation with Mr. Welch via email, and he told me it's tough, and it's really tough to balance the budget. He doesn't think we can have zero growth. And it's like your house budget, he says. Costs go up, you've got to budget for it. And my point, I guess, is when I budget for my house and my costs go up, I cut something inside my house. I don't knock on my neighbor's door and say, hey, can you help me out here? I don't balance my budget on somebody else's back. So I say to schools, you want to have a pay increase? I'm all for it. But find that money in your own budget. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of the sign-up sheet. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak? Please feel free to come forward and just state your name and address. Far cry from last year, huh? Dinner.
Members of the Town Council, School Committee. Hi, my name is Tina McKendall, 103 Richard Smith Drive, North Kingstown, Rhode Island. And I'm sorry, I didn't sign in because I ran in at the last minute again. First of all, thank you all very much, and thank you all for working so hard for our town. But there's one thing that I've noticed when I drive in the mornings or in the afternoons, and I just wanted to call it to everyone's attention. There's no statistical information about this from me, but when I follow the school buses, there's perhaps, 10, 20 children on it, and they seem to stop every 20 to 30 yards. And that being said, I also understand that we have a huge problem with physical fitness in our schools, and our children are sitting in front of computers all day, And I think perhaps that if we visited this busing problem, we could cut a big chunk out of the school budget. In addition to that, when I do watch these buses as I go by, as I observed, the parents are driving their children to the school bus stops. So if they're driving their children to the school bus stops, perhaps they could drive their children to the school. Now, I'm thinking out of the box here, and I know there's going to be people that object, but like the gentleman said, this just came to me as I was sitting here. If we need to raise things, if there are things beyond our control and prices increase, then we need to find ways to cut budgets in other areas. And as the gentleman before me said, it is our own responsibility to find where to cut this budget. I understand that some people don't have the means to get their children to school, but if they can drive them to the bus stop, then they have the means to get them to school. So I think we really need to examine this busing program a little more closely, and it shouldn't be something that takes 12 years. It should be a pretty quick fix. I don't know the cost of the budget, the busing program, and perhaps it will be an impasse. But, you know, people will object, but I really think it's incredibly important to look at something like this, and this could be an area that you could do some serious cuts.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak tonight? Please come forward.
Good evening. Jim McGuinn, 412 Chimney Rock. I'm also the president of the North Kingston Taxpayers Organization. As most of you probably know, we've been around since the 70s and been fairly active to your like and sometimes frustration, I guess. But we've always come through, particularly in the past couple of years, and shown on the school budget where there were opportunities for savings without impacting one child. Last year, I think it was $3.5 million. We've come forth with a number of issues this year that, including the Jamestown tuition, that, as I said last year, 2003, they were paying approximately $9,200. The proposed tuition for 2012 is $9,800. That's about a 1.8% increase. The increase for Jamestown tuition for the 200 and approximately 30 students that go to this school, and this school was built with a design criteria to hold all the Jamestown students, okay? It only increased 1.8%, but in that same time, tuition for Jamestown students. Last year's town audit said the cost per student was $13,996 per student. And the funding for schools from 2003 until the current fiscal year has increased by 38%. And you're looking at an additional 5.28% increase in the school fund this year. Now, the other issue is a contract was signed in 2001 that identified for general education, special education, and English as a second language that Jamestown would pay tuition plus bonding cost. In the contract and in the rate sheets that were done, it listed each bond, the amortization, and the cost per student. $0 of that, although it was billed and collected, has gone into the debt service. And this year, it was left off. Now, I got an opinion from the Commissioner of Education that it's the town council's responsibility to collect that. I confirmed with the town treasurer, and that is approximately $407,000. I think the town should just bill Jamestown for that, and if money comes back from the state, they should get the same portion. You know, they pay approximately 15%. If we get 30% back from the state, they should get the same portion back when we get it back. That is significant when we're running deficits and just been cut $2.2 million. The other thing that I'd like to speak on tonight is we've got a closed school. We've got 2 closed schools, and we're still trying to figure out what to do with Wickford L. And it's getting costlier as the days go by. We've got schools in the wrong places, but we closed Davisville. And I think the number is approximately $85,000 to keep that building mothballed. We say it's about the kids. We're ready to cut the hockey team, which costs $25,000, in other programs. I don't think that's about the kids. Another thing that I don't think is about the kids is, in 2005, the town paid for a fiscal fitness assessment, which was a pretty good one, and said we needed to consolidate. And the opportunities were information technology, finance. Nothing's been done except some Jiffy Lube oil changes on minibuses in the 5 years since. And because there's hesitance on the school side to work with the town offered to pay $12,000 for an assessment. Didn't like that, and it's been said that it was unethical by employees of the town to even suggest that. Unethical for $12,000. So now we're paying $36,000. And as Mr. Mudge said, it's $36,000 because elected officials cannot manage their own employees and tell them you will work together and you will cut out the waste and redundancy. $36,000. Again, I'm just going to use the hockey team because it's been brought up to cut sports each year. Hockey team won a championship. Each year they've been brought up as a cut, $25,000. Don't tell me it's about the kids when you're wasting $36,000 on an assessment, and then what are you going to do after that assessment's done? What action is going to be taken? And oh, by the way, there's a meeting this week, and the school representative to the consolidation committee is out of town, but the meeting is going to be held anyway. So that helps. iPads were just purchased. I have an iPad I use for work. You know how much this cost? $499. Works perfectly fine. How much the school paid? I think it was $799. And they gave them to the school committee, and 3 members of the school committee have either returned them or are not using them. And they were told to buy their own applications. The town council were given iPads. They're using them. They're being controlled. The town is buying the applications. The town is controlling their asset. And they're being used. But we bought 20 for the school. Where they are, don't know. But 20, $16,000. And I don't remember a school committee vote on that. $16,000, and we're going to cut programs for kids. Now, I don't know how the $799 is helping kids, those kneecap test scores go up. Okay? Video streaming. We have the distinct pleasure in North Kingston of being given a national award for the video streaming that was done a couple years ago by the town, Granicus. We actually had 11% of our North Kingston population tune in online to watch video streaming of a budget meeting. Past 2 years, those budget meetings haven't been either available, parts have been missing, they don't work on everyone's computer. Why? Because the school wants its own. We're not consolidating, we're going away from consolidation. And the justification was that it was costing, and it's from the meeting minutes of, I think, November 23rd, it was costing the school $1,000 a month. And the signed agenda reporting form said $11,000 a year. Well, according to the treasurer, the school has not been billed a dime for Granicus in 2 years. So it wasn't costing them anything. And by the way, that seat, 1/4 of the Granicus fee that the town is still paying, is going unused. But $10,000, it's adding up. We have champagne and caviar taste on a deficit budget. This video streaming, it took 5 hours of the IT director in town to organize it. This isn't being done through the town tonight. This is being done through the school. So it had to be an end-around play to get it to work so town people who actually went to the town site, which is very reliable, could actually watch this meeting. 5 hours, and I think Jeanette had to spend an hour or two herself to make sure that this was going to get out to the people. Ask people the last time, by the way, they saw a school committee meeting on public access cable. Somehow, and KTO has been having budget forums each year, December, January, February, March. We get them on public access cable, and all you have to do is submit it to one person at PBS, and they put it on, and it doesn't cost anything. But ask people last time they saw a school committee meeting on public access cable. Mr. Thomas, who runs the communication department at the high school, was able to do it for years. We can't do it. Don't tell me, and the kids had an opportunity to learn how to do that, and we're involved in it. It's not about the kids. $10,000 more, and we don't have the service we had. We also have a problem in the school. School in the town use the same network, RINET. I got calls. The kids were able to access, in the middle school and high school, extremely explicit pornography via the school. And what's worse is the sites that were doing it were extremely dangerous to the IT infrastructure. They're very invasive. That was corrected, that one issue, I guess. But guess what? The kids are using something called UltraSurf to get around the firewall. Now, having contacted other users of RINET, which services the towns and schools all over the state, they weren't having the same problem, using the same infrastructure and same filters. Okay? There's something wrong here. And as Sue Hensler said on January 24th, 2006, right after the Auditor General said, I caution of the current and future risk of fraud in the school system, Sue Hensler said, the issues with the school department are systemic, and they've gone on for 4 or 5 years. We're 5 years hence from that. So it's going on almost 10. Okay? We need to do something about it. There is a lot of waste here. A lot. And it's not about the kids. And please, don't say it's about the kids. And I'd be more than happy to sit down with any one of you and go through the facts one by one and show you documentation that backs up what I'm saying. I'll give you one more example of what's on the agenda for tomorrow night. A couple years ago, we had a problem where we were buying very expensive athletic equipment from a sole source, Grogan Marciano, as in Steve Grogan and Rocky Marciano. Well, Steve Grogan obviously owns it now, up in Massachusetts. Very expensive. And a bid that was approved by the school committee for, I think, $42 per jersey was pulled 2 weeks later after it was approved and replaced with 2 bids, 2 requisitions issued on the same day, 2 bids issued on the same day, and 2 purchase orders issued on the same day to 2 different addresses, by the way, for jerseys that cost exactly twice as much. Twice as much. And it was for Speedline equipment that Grogan Marciano has the sole distributorship in New England for. Well, guess what's on the agenda tomorrow night? A sole bid to Grogan Marciano for 70 football jerseys at $100 a piece. Under Armour brand. In the bid, it says Under Armour brand, and it gives the stock number. There's only one Under Armour distributor in New England. So guess how many bids came back? 1. Call around to the athletic suppliers, dealers. Top quality jerseys, the same material, the same stitching, the same capability, form, fit, and function, $60. That's the difference okay? Between, there's 70 of them at $100, okay? That's $7,000. It's a small amount. But it is a symptom of the bigger problem. We are wasting money, and we ain't getting the results, and I'll say the word ain't, because in the kneecap scores this year, we do have marginal performance. 5 schools went down in reading. Only 2 schools went up. Only 48% of the kids in this high school are proficient in math. Only 48. We are, and the report said from RIDE, page 22, I believe, Mr. Brennan showed it at a town council meeting, no significant improvement. We are paying top dollar. We are wasting money. We are not making our employees work together. And the kids are suffering, and the taxpayers are suffering, particularly the elderly taxpayers. And I'll tell you, I did that article in the paper, and I looked at recent sales of houses at 2 brackets, $275,000 and $1.3 million. And comparatively, houses that sold in the last 6 months, the taxes in Jamestown, the same sale price, they paid, not estimate, paid 51% of what a North Kingston resident paid. In Narragansett, 53%. Unfortunately, I'm taking over my mother's finances for her house in Narragansett. Her tax bill, sitting on the water, looking at the entire bay, are a lot less than people pay in small neighborhoods in this town. It is not, and she's got pickup and sewers. We got to figure out how to do it. And the last issue that I will remind you of is school committee members have asked for something called the Basic Education Plan. And RIDE has said, and I've provided the town council with a slide that said it needs to be mapped to the new Universal Chart of Accounts. Well, school committee members don't have that. And if you use the $1.6 million of surplus, or 1.1, what's the bill going to be next year? What's the maintenance of effort next year going to be? It's a one-time fix for a deficit. We have waste. We have the opportunity. This isn't normal times. This is the worst economic crisis in 80 years. And people's incomes, I talk to businessmen every day. They're working 3 times as hard to get half the revenue. And I'm talking to people who are losing their houses, talking to people in North Kingston who are trying to sell their house. They've moved, and they've been told by the real estate agent, if your house was in Narragansett or Jamestown, it'd be sold by now. But your taxes are too high. And I think you need to use that, and I think you need to look at your due diligence and professional skepticism when you see some of the numbers and hear some of the figures coming before you. Because just like in my cousin Vinny, when he was showing him the card, it looks like a brick, but when you put it sideways, it's paper thin. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come and speak tonight? If not, I want to thank everyone who did come and share their thoughts, and I'd like to let Chairman Welch make any closing comments that he might care to share.
I also would like to thank those who spoke for coming forward tonight. I'd like to tell you that some of the information that has been presented tonight is in error. One would have you think that the school committee is asleep at the switch. I can tell you that we are not. For some people who will never be pleased with progress, I happen to be one of them, in that things never move quite fast enough for me, but that does not mean that this committee and the past committee has not worked diligently to try and do numerous things and are continuing to do that. Now, we've frozen wages, we've changed benefits, we've negotiated a teacher contract with no pay increase. There are numerous things that we have done as a committee. We have to protect the education program that we have in existence. We will be going out, and have gone out, I should say, for RFP on a couple of items that are non-education. We are trying to find every way we can to save taxpayer dollars. It's not the easiest thing to do, and we all up here realize, as we are taxpayers, how important it is to save those taxpayer dollars. Now, I listened very closely to everything that was said tonight, and I can only tell you that some of the things do not hold water. And if anyone has any question, the superintendent has always made himself available by calling him, either to talk to him on the telephone or to meet with him in his office to explain anything that you think is amiss. And I would encourage anyone here or in the video audience to do that. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and I want to thank members of the school committee and my colleagues in the council, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion to adjourn in a second. Chairman Welch?
Second.
Yes, I just wanted to say one thing for those of you in the audience that you may or may not be aware of. Our Davisville Middle School students took a first in the science fair.
Sorry, Wickford.
Wickford,
Sorry,
no.
Wickford Middle.
I apologize. Wickford. I know how quickly I got corrected. And Davisville took a fifth, is it? Sixth. We have some excellent students. We have some wonderful staff. The youngsters from Wickford will hopefully be representing the state of Rhode Island in May in Wisconsin.
Wow.
We will try and help them through fundraisers, et cetera, to help pay for them to go. I hope the community gets behind these youngsters and shows the support that these young, intelligent kids need from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And then there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all. We're adjourned.
Yeah.
It must